Welcome to Binford Chronicles, where you get access to the candidate. Today, Binford Chronicles has a news flash. I want to bring this to your attention because we have an incumbent candidate running for Congressional District 8 for a 5th term. I have been happy with this candidate for what they've done for the veterans and some other Second Amendment bills that they've voted positively on for Florida. But I was wondering, when someone runs on term limits, why are they 77 years old and still running for a 5th term? So I decided to look at the previous history, and I was wondering, if we're electing good candidates, Republican conservatives, how did we get here where we're at right now in the United States? So let's take a look at these bills. So the following bills, I have many, but the following bills that we're going to focus on in this video are the ones that cover Homeland Security, federal government partnerships with local and state law enforcement, federal police grants, Intelligence Authorization Act, and government home visitations. That's right, government home visitations. So I want to remind you, these are bills already decided. I want to know how you would have voted. And they're already decided, so yes, they are in the past, but this is what we need to look at. We need to look at the resume as a Congressional District 8. And did they vote constitutionally for the better of the nation? Because as a Congressional District 8, they're going to represent Florida. But they also have a vote on national bills. So let's take a look. Posey voted to approve H.R. 5471, Countering Terrorist Radicalization Act, on June 16, 2016. This bill authorizes Homeland Security Department to train state and local law enforcement in methods of countering violent extremism and terrorism. This training takes place at fusion centers that have been established across the nation by the Homeland Security Department and the U.S. Department of Justice for promoting information sharing between agencies such as the CIA, the FBI, the U.S. DOJ, the U.S. military, and the state and local level governments. Providing federal training to state and local law enforcement programs is not only unconstitutional, but further federalizes the police system. Posey voted to approve H.R. 3249, Law Enforcement Partnership Grants. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, this bill would establish a Project Safe Neighborhoods block grant program within the Office of the DOJ, Justice Programs, at the Department of Justice, DOJ, to foster and improve existing partnerships between local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. It would authorize $50 million a year in each year throughout 2019 and 2021. Our continued existence, folks, as a free people under the Constitution, it depends on the continued independence of our local police from federal and state control. Our local sheriffs are our last line of defense. They are our last line of defense, and they need to be working for us. Posey voted to approve H.R. 3180. H.R. 3180, Intelligence Authorization. This bill authorizes classified amounts of funding through 2018 for 2016. U.S. intelligence agencies and intelligence-related activities, including the Office of the National Intelligence Director, the CIA, and the National Security Agency. Congress authorizing classified amounts of spending, it's unconstitutional. Some of the agencies that this classified spending is funding themselves. engaged in unconstitutional activities such as spying on and gathering data from U.S. citizens without a warrant. Posey voted to approve H.R. 2824 in September 26th of 2017, home visitations. This bill authorizes the government to go into homes to check up on the physical, emotional, and economic wellness of families in poor communities. And it's to serve as the basis for developing and implementing a national strategy. You know, folks, government's going into homes to check up on the physical, emotional, and economic wellness of families not only goes beyond the few and defined federal powers authorized by the Constitution, but also is part of a dangerous trend of government further injecting itself into the family. We really need to be concerned about this. You know, folks, Posey is running for a 5th term, I have to remind you. He's 77 years old. He ran on term limits. And he's served in Congress since 2009 to present, a total of 15 years. He's also been in politics for over 40 years. Here's another politician that ran on term limits, yet Posey is seeking a 5th term at age 77. I don't understand why he couldn't have vetted the candidates running, and I know he didn't do that, and decided who he could support. And if he feels he is the only candidate that can do the job, then maybe he should have worked harder to find somebody to follow his legacy. Hi, everybody. I want to thank you again for visiting Binford Chronicles and sitting through this information. I have other slides that I'm probably going to post as well. This is really important to me because we got to figure out, how did our country get to where it is? I kind of have an idea, you know, you and I, all of us, we get so caught up in the family raising. I was a soccer mom. I was a Cub Scout mom. I was very involved with my kids' education and growing up. And I went and I voted, and I thought my representatives were doing their jobs. And we do have some really good representatives out there. And Posey ran on term limits. He's been in politics for 40 years. And he's running for a 5th term at age 77. And what ran through my mind was, this is a perfect example of us thinking that we have a candidate that believes in term limits, and then the candidate comes back and tells us, well, we'll never get that vote in term limits, or, you know. But this is the perfect example. You can't say you're running on term limits and you're trying for term limits, but you keep running over and over and over again. So I decided, well, you know, I know what he's done in Florida. And we've been to events with him, and he's always very personable, and he's nice, and he answers our questions. And my husband's a 25-year vet, so we have interaction with Veterans Affairs and TRICARE, and so we have an experience of working, of having to receive services for veterans. And if we ever had trouble with any of the services, we would call Posey's office, and they always answered. Never had to be on hold or waiting, or I'll call you back. We always got quick service and felt like we were taken care of. So that's a good thing. But nationally, how is he voting nationally? This is really important to me as well, because how did we get here, folks? How did we get to the America we're sitting in right now? Almost making it to World War III. It's all of us are stressed about this right now. And it has a lot to do with how our representatives are voting nationally. So yes, this led me to look at his bill resume. That's what created this slide. Not to badger somebody, but to teach us. To teach us we really need to look deeper. And if you could please just look at these, how would you vote on these? How do you feel about these? Go ahead and comment. It's not to be negative, but we need representatives that serve their term And they are the best people to vet some of these candidates that start running against them or running for their position. They are the perfect people to vet these candidates. And if especially when your constituency has so much faith in you, that representative could vet the candidates and tell people why they're going to endorse that candidate. It helps a great deal. And I think we have good candidates out there. I would ask everybody to take a look at John Heerton, great candidate. And we also have Brian Jones. He's a younger man running for Congressional District 8. But I think our best choice would be John Heerton. And that's who I'm endorsing. That's who I'm supporting. And I hope that you will take a look at his information and support John Heerton. Anyway, thank you again for visiting Binford Chronicles. And we'll see you at the next electronic town hall on May 10th with Stephen Hume. Our next electronic town hall will be May 10th at 6 p.m. with Stephen Hume, and he's going to be a great interview. Don't miss it. This young man has a lot to say, a lot to share, and he's got a great personality. So don't miss it. Join us on X at jbin_chronicles, and that's May 10th at 6 p.m. Thank you and have a good evening.